within a day, it had withered up. Uh, we saw when Jesus was sad, he looked over Jerusalem and he saw that he said, "Oh, oh Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how about long?" You see the sadness, the melancholy in his voice. Week after that, we looked at a disappointed Jesus. When we looked at Peter, how Jesus was disappointed because Peter was walking on the water. He was doing it, and all of a sudden, it says the waves. He saw the waves. He saw, and they're beating up, and he's looking up, looking down, looking up and down. And the scripture says, I don't know if you noticed, but we said, beginning to sink. I've never begun to sink anywhere. When I set foot in the water, when I dove, I don't do much diving into the pool. But when I put one foot in, I sink. I don't go down like I was going down. No, I don't. And Jesus had to look at him and catch it. And like, what, Peter, why did you do? And you saw that sadness. When we look at today's lesson, it's an emotional Jesus, and we're going to look at. I had some problem with these notes today, and they go get together. We've seen we can have a range of emotions, and we said on our outline, what are they? They're an affective state of consciousness in which joy, sorrow, fear, hate, or the like is experienced as distinguished from cognitive and volitional states of consciousness. It's you have it. And the thing about your emotions is certain things will change your emotional outlook. When something good happens, oh, you happy. And things, even though you're happy, they can then make you sad. And everyone has emotions and you can't get them. And we all experience a range of them. Look on the second page outline. Today's lesson is called A Calm Jesus. And think about what is calmness. I love that definition. It says of a person, action, or manner not showing or feeling nervousness, anger, or other emotions. That doesn't mean that you don't have an opportunity to be that way. And it's, the other definition was it's the absence of violent or confrontational activity within a place or group. You think of people sometimes, and I notice this sometimes with people who are facing something that you don't want to embrace. I think of several years ago when my aunt, she was diagnosed with liver cancer, and she was terminal, and it was when I called her, and she said, "I'm not afraid of dying." She said, "I just don't want the pain." Mm-hmm. And she said the doctor told her, he said, "Well, Miss Johnson, we can take care of the pain." And she said, "Cool." And you think about it, you're getting ready to die. And I know of some people have been scared during that point. I remember going, an individual asked me to go see her stepfather in the hospital, and he was there in the ICU hooked up, and he couldn't speak. And they said, "Well, you can't have visitors." And it's like, "Well, I'm the preacher," and so I got in. And we could communicate. I grabbed his hand and I said, I told him who I was and that his daughter had sent him, and we were talking, and I said, "Are you ready to go?" And it was like, if you are, just squeeze my hand. And I didn't get a hand squeeze. I said, "Okay, do you know where you spend eternity?" Talk about getting folks saved. When you on your deathbed and you got tooth coming, you can't talk. We start. And it's like then you can embrace that, and it's calmness. But the flip side of calmness, ready, is anxiety. What is that? It's a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. there's certain things that make you anxious when sometimes when you hear these phrases, we need to talk. As a kid, I remember when it's like, oh, the principal wants to see you. For what? I remember somebody told a story about these two little kids. They were cut ups, and their parents sent them to Catholic school in hope of maybe the nuns would get them straightened out. And the kids went to school and they were cut up and they got sent to the principal and the principal asked the father, the priest asked the little kid, "Where is God?" And the little kid got so scared he was like, I don't know. Where is God? Then he went back to class. When he went to class, he saw his brother coming. And he told his brother, he said, "Brother, I think God's missing and they think we stole him." He's anxious. And you think about it. When you are anxious, you can't be calm. Look in your book. Look, it's on the outline there. John 18:3, which is where our lesson comes from. It says in verse 3 and 4, it says, "Then Judas, having received a detachment of troops and officers from the chief priests and the Pharisees, came there with lanterns, torches, and weapons. Jesus, therefore, knowing that all things would come upon him, went forward and said to them, Whom are you seeking?" Thank you, Professor.
Alrighty.
Whom are you seeking? You think about it. Okay, if somebody coming with torches and a whole bunch of weapons and say, "Who are you looking for?" "We looking for Cornell." You know what I'm going to say? Yeah. He went that way. If you run fast, he round the corner. You may catch it. You may catch it. And you look in, you think about it. Nope. This is it. Jesus finds himself and he says, who do you think he said? Jesus? Look at the flip side though. Look at verse 10. Cindy, I don't think the clicker's working, or is the sound not working?
Sound's working.
Okay, so
Pastor's on the clicker.
the clicker.
John 10.
All right, hang on a second. Was that the next slide?
Next slide. John 18, verse 10, 11.
That's what I wanted.
Look at the flip side. So then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. So Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword in the sheath. Shall I drink the cup which my Father has given me?" Notice the difference. Jesus, like, who you seeking? Me. What's Peter? A gangster. And you think about it, Peter's response is different. He decides to go rogue and try to create a diversion. And if Jesus can't escape, but it's like, wait a minute, no, that's a bad choice. So here's the question. Ready? Oh, not why is my face blackened, but here's the question.
What happened?
No, that's
last. Don't worry. Don't worry. I
you know what? I ain't gonna worry about it. You got the thing here. How do you handle a stressful situation? How do you handle a stressful situation? Do you scream?
Yes. That's right.
Yes. Right? Or can you stay focused? Here we go. See, there's something in this narrative that we like to pass by. We like to pick on Peter and his fight. But Peter doesn't fight until chapter 10 and verse 10. He says something beforehand, and we all face stressful situations. How do you handle them? See, come on. When you're working at work, we do fire drills. Right? Why do we do a fire drill? In preparation. I'm going to tell you something. Ready? In 30 plus years of working, I ain't never had a fire.
Right.
But I've always had a drill. Right? Even you go, I saw that they showed it on the news the other week. When that Southwest Airlines flight, the bird hit, whatever hit, and unfortunately the lady lost her life, they showed a picture with the mask down, and people had the mask on, and one of the flight attendants from another airline looked and said, she said, ready? Everybody had them on wrong. How did they have them on? They had them on over their mouth, but not their nose. So I mean, the cabin was still pressurized enough to where they didn't need it. But when you're looking at them, why? And you think about it, how many times? Every time I have been on the plane, every time, right? You listen to that same speech. And I don't care how many times I have, every time I've been on. And I'm going to tell you the truth. There have been sometimes I have been tired when I got on the plane. I got on the plane, I buckled my seatbelt, and I went to sleep. I don't know when I took off, right? So if there was a problem on the plane, I didn't hear it, but I keep thinking, you know what? I've been on this plane long enough. I know when the thing comes down, you grab it, you go, you put your mask on, you put it over. If you got somebody little with you, get your mask on before you put their mask on. Right? You notice feel, right? Until you actually have to do it. Right? All of a sudden now, see, do you scream as some folks was doing, right? Or can you stay focused? See, part of what Jesus did, he had a focus that he couldn't be deterred from what his golden plan was. His emotions, he could have got crazy just like Peter. Right? Let's look at a couple things here. Number one, ready? How to stay calm. Have a place to center your mind. Notice what it says in verse 1 of John 18. It says, when Jesus spoke these words, he went out with his disciples over the brook Kidron. Now, in chapter 17, he's in the upper room. Chapters 14, 15, 16, 17 are all really one narrative. Jesus is in the upper room. They're having the Passover. He's going through, just having a great time. They go through, when he gets to 18, it says, when Jesus had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples over the brook Kidron, where there was a garden, which he and his disciples entered. And Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place. Notice, because it says, for Jesus, what? Often met there with who? With his disciples. Ready? We see in this account, Jesus had a committed place to pray and commune with God. It was a regular place. And matter of fact, he was there so often, Judas had left to go betray him and get the soldiers, and he knew what Jesus was going to. All the disciples knew where he would be. And this is more, when I talk about have a place to sit in your mind, this is more than just, people, find a happy place, find a happy place. No, this is not finding a happy place, right? If you get your mind centered, you get focused, because if you don't have any direction, you won't know where to go. I guarantee you, most of you in here, if I told you, come to my house, y'all wouldn't know where to go, right? You would need for me to say, give you my address, and make sure you got it here. We'll go down Soledad till you get to Bouquet, turn right on Bouquet. I have to give you the whole thing. You have a place, you have a center, you have some direction. And even if I told you certain things, if I didn't tell you where to start out from, right? There's a different set of directions if I'm coming from church as opposed to if I'm coming from Magic Mountain. Right? You have to have a place to center your mind. Look what it says in Psalm 63. In Psalm 63, David writes this psalm, and I love sometimes when the Psalms gives a superscription, which gives you the reason why they wrote it. Notice in Psalm 63, verse 1, it says, the A portion of the superscription says, a psalm of David when he was in the wilderness of Judah. Right? He's in the wilderness. Ain't nothing good happening in the wilderness. Right? What does he say? Oh God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and thirsty land where there is no water. It's like, ready? Notice the phrase. Early will I seek you. You know, when you have that time, now I know people have different thoughts of when they have their devotional time, you know, whether you do it early, whether you do it late, or whenever you do it, you know. But you need a place, and quite frankly, you need a place to get centered before your day gets crazy. Right? Because once you start, you know, because come on, sometimes I don't know, when I used to drive into downtown on a regular basis, I was not centered by the time I got to work. And I remember coming home, you know, in those days, in those pre-Metrolink days, when I would come home and Christina I get home and she's like, "Oh, Daddy, let's play." And it's like, "Give me 5 minutes, kid. Give me 5 minutes." Right? You have to have a plan. Look what the scripture says. We're going to go through these right quick. Notice Matthew 14:23. It says, and when he had sent the multitude away, now Jesus had just got through feeding 5,000. When he had sent the multitude away, what did he do? He went up on the mountain by himself to do what? To pray. Right? And like, I've had enough. Believe it or not, Jesus gets tired of people.
Yeah.
Right? People can stress you out. People can pull you in different directions. Right? But he sent the multitude away. And notice, he says in Mark 14, before he's getting ready to go to the cross, in the garden, he says, then they came to a place which is named Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, what? Sit here while I pray. Like, hey, I'm taking you three with me, but I'm going to pray. Y'all pray with, y'all pray there. I'm going to pray over there. There's something that's getting ready to happen. And I need to be focused. Notice in Luke 21:37, he says, in the daytime, he was teaching in the temple. But at night, what did he do? He went out and stayed on the mountain called Olivet. It's like, I've had my time with y'all. Which is sometimes really, that's a principle for us staying calm. Because sometimes, really, we cannot always be on. Sometimes, really, you need some downtime. You need to be able to cut off your phone, turn off your social media, turn off those children, because people will drain you. And once you on empty and you have no more to offer, they'll say next. Right? He says, I was teaching them, I was doing my job. But I need, Jesus is ready. I need some me time. Look at Luke 2:239. It says, coming out, he went to the Mount of Olives, as it says, ready, as he was accustomed. And his disciples also followed him. He had a place. So to stay calm, you have to have the place to center yourself. Look at the second thing. Ready? I missed a slide in there. You'll see it on your outline notes. Ready? Don't lose your focus amid the chaos. And I purposely have that a blurry slide I found.
Am I
It's
missing,
perfect.
missing here?
It's missing. I didn't load it.
Okay.
The document that I put, I made a mistake there. But don't lose your focus in the midst of the chaos. Look what it says in John 18, verse 3. It says, then Judas, having received the detachment of truth and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, came there with lanterns, torches, and weapons. Jesus, therefore, knowing all things would come upon him, went forward and said to them, whom are you seeking? Could you imagine that scene? You're sitting up there, you're in the garden praying. And all of a sudden, here comes a gang of folks with torches, lanterns, it's dark. See, we don't appreciate darkness. Because it's hard, especially in Santa Cruz, to get dark. But I remember last year when we were in Yellowstone, and we had gone some tour, we looked at other stuff, and it was dark, and we going back to our hotel, and we looking on this road, ain't nothing on the road but us, and you praying that your lights in the car stay working, because you can't see nothing, right? Think of that. Darkness, you praying, you relax, and all of a sudden, here come these folks. It's a chaotic situation. And here's the thing, ready? In all of our lives, there are going to be distractions. See, we can remain calm by keeping the main thing the main thing. Because if you don't watch it, you'll be swirling around. Folks get mad at me when I say this. When they ask me about marriage, and I always say about a wedding and all that, I always say this one thing, ready? Just remember the rule of 5. The bride, the groom, 2 witnesses, and the preacher. Everything else is fluff. And we will focus on bridezilla and bridesmaidzilla, right? And all of a sudden, before you know it, you have got all this crazy swirl. So when you finally get to the wedding day, you about sick of folks, right? Because your numbers have increased, Sister Gina.
I was just saying, when you said that is the enemy's job. If he can't steal your blessing, he takes away your ability to enjoy it.
And that is the enemy's thing. If he can't steal your blessing, he'll take your enjoyment. Right? He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. You'll come in. You think about today. I've seen folks that get stressed out because guaranteed something is going to go wrong on that day. And you get to the point. And here's the other flip side of it. Ready? We'll spend 18 months preparing for that one day, and won't spend 30 minutes preparing for the next 30 years. Which is why they fall. The numbers say if you make it past the first 4 years, your probability of staying married goes way up, and a lot of folks don't make it past 2. Why? Because you prepared 18 months. I had a cousin had this grand glory. Girl had 13 bridesmaids. They did not have a wedding procession. They had a choir procession. There was so many of them coming in. I mean, they lined the whole front of the Shiloh Baptist Church. I mean, it was grand. Had a grand reception. But both of their names begin with A, and they had these ice sculptures with A and A with these intertwined doves on the. Spent mega bucks to stay married for 18 months. I want to get my gift back.
I don't blame you.
Why? Because see, you lose your focus in the midst of chaos. Look what happened. Look at Mark 4. I mean, it's on the street. But see, here we go. One of the things is that how do we lose our focus? we're focused on the distractions from your stated purpose, focusing on distractions from your stated purpose for you achieving your goal. When you look at Mark 4, Jesus, he had given the parables of the sower. He'd been preaching all day. And he told the disciples, let's go to the other side. And Jesus went in the boat, went in the bottom of the boat, and went to sleep. They're like, come on, y'all. Now wake me up when we get to the other side. And the winds came. Notice in verse 37, it says, and a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that it was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on a pillow. And they awoke him and said to him, Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? You know, that word there, don't you care? That word care is the Greek word merimna, and it means worry, anxiety, stress. I'm just stressed out about it. And Jesus is like, waves be still. Where's y'all faith? They're like, I didn't say let's get out in the boat in the middle of the sea and drown. I said let's go to the other side. You had enough experience that you know I'm with you. We're gonna make it over. Why are you stressing out? See, you lose your focus and those distractions. Because look at John 6. Jesus has got through feeding the 5,000. Look at John's account. We looked at something a little earlier in Mark, but it said in John 6:14, it says, and then those men, when they had seen the signs Jesus did, said, this is truly the prophet who is coming to the world. Therefore, when Jesus perceived that they were about to come and take him by force to do what?
Make him king.
Make him king what? He departed again to the mountain by himself alone. Right? Why? Because for you to remain calm, you can't let other people set your agenda. You cannot let other people set your agenda. Why? Because they will say, I need you to do such and such. Okay. Sometimes I've had to tell people, P to the 6. P to the 6. Prior proper planning prevents pitiful performance. Prior proper planning prevents pitiful performance. Just because you didn't plan ahead is not my problem. Right? Sometimes I deal at work, you know, with we need this right now. Well, when, you know, I remember that I was mad because these folks at work, they needed this particular thing because this particular judge was very stern. And Judge Anderson we need this to produce Judge Anderson. All right, but when do you need it? For trial tomorrow. When did you know you need it? About 4 weeks ago. And I had to ready. I can't help you. It's at our archives in Riverside. Not my problem. We can get it. But if you'd have ordered it 3 weeks ago, it'd have been here in 3 days. Right? See, other people will try to set your agenda. How many times you have somebody tell you, let me tell you what you should do? And like, well, they need to do this. You know, everybody has the gift of telling. And Jesus could not be distracted by letting somebody else set his agenda. Look at the next one. Ready? What do we see from Jesus here in John 18? You have to put the situation into perspective. Right? The big picture versus the small details. Right? The worst case scenario. And you have to distinguish what's under my control and what isn't. You know, our minds can go crazy thinking when we're in stressful situations. And sometimes we usually like to go, I call it the worst case scenario, right? What's the worst that can happen? Oh my God, if we do this, I still remember when I was 16 years old, I was at the DMV. I was going to get my license and I had to take the driving test, right? And I knew there was a problem when the guy giving the test, he got in my car and he put a motorcycle crash helmet on. Problem one, right? So, you know, I'm looking at this man with this big helmet on, and you already nervous. I'm 16, I'm nervous, and I'm going to, you know, going through. And on this time, I went through a four-way stop, and it was an uncontrolled intersection, and I didn't slow down to the proper speed, and he failed me. And when he got there, he said, "Sir, do you know what you just did?" It's like, I slowed down, but I didn't slow down to the 15. And I know he said, "If there had been another car coming the other way, we'd have all been killed." I said, "Oh." So he said, turn right and go back to the DMV office. You failed. And I'm like, ooh. Worst case scenario. Right? And sometimes, if you don't put the situation into perspective, police sometimes, if somebody's holed up someplace, they will set up a flash grenade. Why? Because they want to distract the suspect so they can move in. They know what's going on over there is just noise. That's going to turn his attention. And that, if you don't watch it, look at verse 7. John 18, verse 7. It says, then he asked them again, saying, whom are you seeking? This is Jesus said, whom are you seeking? And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. Therefore, if you seek me, let these go their way. Right? Jesus, like, no, y'all looking for me. Y'all ain't looking for these other 11. You get in the situation, and if you don't put it into perspective, those things that are under our control, we work on. But those things that are not, you know what? There's some things you have to let it go. My issue is not everybody's issue. Sometimes I just have to say, ooh, I'm going to pray for you and hope it all works out. Right? Because if you don't watch it, look at from Esther. I love this story. In Esther 1, King Ahasuerus has this banquet, this long banquet, and everybody get tore up drunk. And somebody says, well, bring the queen out, because the queen was having her banquet, because it was just the men. And the queen was having her banquet, and somebody told the king, have your wife come out. And the implication is, in the original language, is that they were going to have her come out in her birthday suit, showing her beauty to everybody around. And she's like, I ain't doing that. And the king had an attendant, an advisor, named Memucan. Notice in Esther 1:16, it says, and Memucan answered before the king and princes, Queen Vashti has not only wronged the king, but also all the princes and all the people who are in the provinces of King Ahasuerus. For the queen's behavior will become known to all women, so that they will despise their husbands in their eyes when they report. King Ahasuerus commanded Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she did not come. This very day, the noble ladies of Persia and Media will say to all the king's officials that they have heard of the behavior of the queen. Thus, there will be excessive contempt and wrath. Dude, said was she wasn't gonna come up here naked. You like every all the women that just throw out everything. Really? And we don't have time to look because we're not looking at the book of Esther, but the king obeyed this nut. And he sent his wife away, and all of a sudden now it's like, I miss my wife. He had an issue in between, Esther 1 and 2. And it's like, listen, don't listen to somebody who can't put the situation into perspective. Somebody's always going to, see the big picture. Like with wedding. Make sure at least you got 5 folks there. If you got 3, then you got issues. But when you come in, you have to say, ready, what's under my control and what is it? What's under my control, I handle. I know people who are scared to fly. Oh, I can't get in that plane. Oh, and it's like, ooh. Last Saturday I had to go to my sister-in-law's mother's memorial in Phoenix, and I knew I had to be back on Sunday. And at first I was going to drive. It was the day after pastor's party, so I was going to get up on Saturday, early Saturday morning, drive to Phoenix, go to the memorial. Then after memorial, I was going to have to drive back. I had to be in church here on Sunday morning because pastor was gone. And I said, okay, I can do that. And it was like, no, fly to Phoenix for 45 minutes, out of memorial, at 8 o'clock, there was a flight back. It's a whole lot easier. Right? But some folks don't do, oh, I'm so scared. Well, you know what? Even if I get in the plane and something go wrong, I can't fly. Right? No, I'm not going to go to the pilot. Excuse me, I think you should go about 30 degrees this way because no. That's why I sit down, buckle my seatbelt, and go to sleep. Why? Because I have to put the situation in the proper perspective. Let me hurry up because I'm about out of time. Ready? And then ready? Don't be rash with a solution. Go back to John 18. Look at verse 10. Let's look at Peter again. See, then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Think about it, right? Sometimes you can have what we call a knee-jerk reaction. Right? And then you may want to have a fleshly solution to a spiritual problem. There was a spiritual issue Jesus was getting ready to deal with. Not just somebody coming to attack you. And look, see, Peter says, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. And we can't assume that my will is the same as your will. Right? Jesus wasn't scared of the cross. He embraced it. But Peter, because a few hours before, Jesus said, oh, y'all gonna betray me. And Peter's like, no, I'm not. And I'm thinking Peter in the back of his mind say, see, I told you. And he's gonna get in trouble. See, when you're rash with a solution, look at. Now that's John. John has just a lie. But look at Matthew, chapter 27. Matthew 27. It says, but Jesus said to him, friend, why have you come? Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And suddenly one of those who was with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword, struck the servant of the high priest, and cut off his ear. But Jesus said to him, put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Or do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels? How then could the scriptures be fulfilled that it must happen thus? See, think about it. What if Peter had been successful? in causing the distraction. Come on. Think about it. What if he had been successful? He gets the, Peter creates this distraction. James and John, cover Jesus, right? Bartholomew does something, and all of a sudden, I know how it is when my oldest brother worked for the IRS, and there was an individual who he was auditing, and the man had threatened his life. So you had to, call the authorities. And so for a while, he had Secret Service protection. And the Secret Service says, all right, we don't think it's anything. But I'll tell you what. If he does come, and we see him, and something's going on, I want you to go limp. Don't try to no. You go limp, because we're gonna take it. So you just, whatever we do, you just go. Don't fight us. No. You just go limp. We will fix, and we will get you safe. And you think about it. See, Peter's like, okay, Jesus, if we do enough hocus pocus, we can get you away from here. And Jesus is like, wait a minute. I'm not trying to get free. I need them to take me to the cross. Right? Come on. You miss it when you're rash with a solution. Sometimes we want a quick answer. And quick answers sometimes are not always the best answer. Because if you have if you're trying, Peter's trying to play the hero. But when you see sometimes this knee-jerk reaction, look at 2 Samuel 10. I love this scripture because it's like, oh man, what were you thinking? 2 Samuel 10, it says, then David said, I will show kindness to Hanun, the son of Nahash, as his father showed kindness to me. So David sent by the hand of his servants to comfort him concerning his father, because his father had passed away. And David's servant came into the land of the people of Ammon, and the princes of the people of Ammon said to Hanun, their lord, do you think that David really honors your father because he has sent comforters to you? Has David not rather sent his servants to search the city, to spy it out, and to overthrow it? Therefore Hanun took David's servant, here we go, ready? Shaved off half their beards, cut off their garments in the middle at their buttocks, and sent them away. That is the ultimate in an insult. Right? Come on. You get half your beard shaved. And your beard was a sign of glory. Right? They took their garments and cut them out to expose their backside. And now they walk in, you walk in there, and when you see the account, they meet David so embarrassed, they can't come in. And David goes to meet him because folks say, oh, you don't know what happened. And David is like, no, I'm giving comfort to this boy because his dad helped me when he was running for Saul. And now y'all gonna do this. So David said, oh, you think I'm coming? Because David was, in some cases, he was a hothead. And David comes in and he wipes them all out. What? Because see, this man had a fleshly response. He came in, oh, I see this. He just trying to, folks will always, he just trying to attack you. How you heard people who say, I wouldn't put up with that if I was you. Instigating, egging you on. Mm-hmm. You gonna take that? Well, yeah, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. I'm not insulted, and you're not involved. Because look at. Put up of being rational is the solution. Let's go back to Peter. Look at Matthew 17. It says that Jesus is at the Mount Transfiguration, and Jesus is there, And all of a sudden, these two figures come down, Moses and Elijah. You see that? He's transfigured. He gets this kind of glorified body. And I can tell you, if I saw that something like that, I would be scared out of the book. I'll admit. And sometimes, ready, when you're scared, keep your mouth shut. Because what may come out your mouth is stupid. Because look what Peter says. He says, and behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. Then Peter answered and said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, let's make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. And Jesus was like, what? And a voice from heaven comes and says, this is my son, hear him. See, Peter offers, let's make this great solution. And Jesus is like, this ain't about tabernacles. See, sometimes you need to stop and assess the situation. Think about it. You don't need an answer right away. When we look at, go back to John 18. When we look at John 18, you look at Jesus, and from here, the last time we see Jesus just a little anxious was when he's in the garden and said, if it's possible, let this pass. But you know, once that was settled, he was good. So when they come, he would say, yeah, it's me. When you look further, when he's on trial, he didn't have to defend it. He kept quiet. When you go through, one of the best things sometimes for our calmness to keep us centered and let it, don't say anything. You know, to turn to Philippians 4. Philippians 4:6, most of us can quote. And we know that it says, 4:6 says, be anxious for nothing. But in everything by prayer, supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Right? And we like to stop it there, but verse 7 is awesome. Because verse 7 says, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, what's going to do? Will guard your heart and your mind. Right? You pray, prayer, supplication. Lord, I can thank you. I can thank him even in the midst of the situation. Not that I'm in the situation. God, you are here with me, and it may be crazy, but your peace is going to keep me. Your peace is going to keep me. Everybody else could be going crazy, but I love it. It says, the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding. Folks not going to understand when they going crazy. How come you not? When they running around, yeah. I think sometimes, you know, they put me on my office's fire safety team. And I remember a couple of times where we had a quasi-emergency. And it's like, you know, because people sometimes they make threats against the government, and sometimes they're a little more credible, and we've had people leave quasi-bombs out in front and all, and it's like, okay. And when you come in sometimes, it's like, okay, we need somebody on there. We're not going to be running down the hallway screaming and yelling. and said, Cornell, we need you. I said, why me? I may want to go yell it. He said, no, you're not. No, you're not. Why? Because I've told folks, I got more Jesus in me than the fallout over some of this foolishness. And sometimes, Ray, you have to know, I can be calm. Scripture says he neither slumbers nor sleeps. So if Jesus is going to be up all night, why do both of us got to be up? Why do both of us doing it? I'm going to do my part. But you turn it over. And that's what we talk about. His emotions. Facing something as difficult as the cross still don't have to be it. Still don't have to be it. Amen? I'm going to stop there. Any questions? Let's see.
I was screaming.
I'm going to tell you, that may make you scream. Next week, we're going to look at exciting Jesus. Amen? And that's going to be our conclusion. So we look forward to seeing you next week. A quasi. Almost. Well, make believe. Let's receive our offering for this evening. And as we do that, are there any matters of prayer or praise reports? Sister.
And her daughter's name is Jewish.